I really truly never cease to be amazed at just how neatly all of the readings kind of fit together and speak to one another and point to one another. I'm going to start in the gospel, and I want you to listen to this a second. It says, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." And then he goes on a little bit later. He goes, "Father, save me." What should I say? "Father, save me from this hour? But it is for this purpose that I came to this hour." Now we're listening to the Gospel of John here, and I want you to back up in your mind to the very beginning of Gospel, somewhere in chapter 2, around verse 7, where Jesus says, "Woman, my hour has not yet come." My hour has not yet come. And in that setting, at that moment in time, very early on in John, Jesus is at a wedding. So I want you to hold that image in your mind, the image of a wedding, because I'm going to back up to the first reading. And anybody who was on our mission 2 weeks ago is going to really hear this word in a different way, I believe. "When I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, not like the covenant I made with their fathers, for they broke my covenant. But this is the new covenant." 4 times our Old Testament readings refer to covenant. My friends, the covenant that they're speaking of is the new covenant in Jesus Christ. It goes on later, the translation here in our first reading in the book of Jeremiah says, "For they broke my covenant, and I had to show themselves their master." But another translation I read, which I like much better, is, for they broke my covenant, and I was espoused to them. And I was espoused to them. Like I was in a covenant with them. I was in a relationship with them. Not just their master, as some servant and slave master, although clearly our Gospels tell us we must be servants. We must be servants because that's what Christ did. Christ was a servant first and foremost. But this language is one of espousal. This is matrimonial language, my friends. This is love language. And this is God speaking to his people, promising that he will give us a new covenant that will be written in our hearts. I've got a Jewish study Bible I pull out and I read, and it says, when it looks at Jeremiah 31:31, which is what we're talking about here in verse 3 and 4, it says that there's this word in there, it says that, that Christians specifically point to 31:31 as a reference to Jesus. Like even my Jewish Bible that I pull out, this Jewish study Bible, recognizes the significance of this Old Testament prophet saying what he's saying here. And that struck me, right? Because we hear here in the gospel, not all who say my name, who say Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, right? Right? There are people who know Jesus but don't know Jesus, who don't know his love, who don't know who he is, right? And it says in our first reading that the law will be written in their hearts. The word will be written in their hearts. We believe Jesus is the word of God, and we're going to come up here and receive Jesus in our very selves here. We're going to consume him. We're going to consummate our relationship with the Christ in an espousal way, in a very relational way. My friends, this is just beautiful to me. We look at the Psalm 51. Psalm 51 is prayed every Friday in the Liturgy of the Hours. It's part of morning prayer, Psalm 51. Oh God, have mercy on me in your kindness. In your compassion, blot out my offense. And the word here that we use in our translation is goodness. The translation I use most often says kindness. The word in Hebrew is chesed. Chesed. And it means faithfulness. And if we go back to that word faithfulness, again, very relational and espousal. This is this intimate relationship. It's not just goodness or kindness. I can be kind to anybody. But to be faithful to someone even in their brokenness, right? This psalm is the Psalm of David who's crying out in absolute brokenness. And somewhere in like verse 7, he says, in iniquity I was born, in my mother's womb I was conceived. There's this profound recognition that this guilt that I'm bearing, this thing that I carry with me, isn't something that I did. Even though I did something wrong, we all know the story of David. He was an adulterer and a murderer. And so he's crying out to God, Lord, this brokenness in me that I cannot heal. I have nothing in me within me. And it's so deep in me that I was born with it. It's one of the very few Old Testament scriptures that talk about this sin before being born. It's one of the places we point to as Christians where we come up with original sin. So I find it fascinating that this psalm is talking about original sin, and Jeremiah is talking about this original spark of life, this new law that will be planted within our hearts. Lord, grant that you may put a new heart within me. I'm really just struck by this juxtaposition, these paradoxes that we have of this complete self-emptying. Kenosis is the word that we use in Greek. This self-emptying that Christ is about to go through here in 2 weeks. Friends, if you're anything like me, we've got 2 weeks left of Lent. And so we're 5 weeks in. This is the 5th week of Sunday, and I'm 5 weeks into my Lenten resolutions, and I have failed 5 out of 5 weeks. I've just absolutely failed. Like, I really wanted to give up sweets, and I really wanted to give up soda. I find myself cracking open a Sprite or whatever it is. Like, it's just nonstop. I just fail every day. Lord, I'm broken. And I try. Like, I really do try. I'm okay at fasting on Fridays. Like, I'm better at that now that I've disciplined myself over 20 plus years of being a Catholic. But I'm still pretty bad at it. Like, I wanted a cheeseburger last night. I just wanted a cheeseburger. So I make up excuses in my head. Well, the sun's going down at 7:20, and officially the Jews used to represent. This is the thing we do. We just flip things around in our head, and we try and find an easy path, an easy way of moving forward. But my friends, Christ isn't offering us an easy way. He's offering us a way of service, and he's promising he's going to walk with us. And so what I want to really kind of twist back to is this psalm. Take some time over the next week, couple days, even tonight. Find Psalm 51 and just read through it. There's a couple of really good one-liners in there, if you ask me. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth shall proclaim your praise. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth shall proclaim your praise. It's the line we open the Liturgy of the Hours with every day before our invitatory. You make a little sign on your cross, O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth shall declare your praise. A call and response, if you will. But really at the bottom of it, my prayer this week for you and for myself is, Lord, rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Rebuild the walls of Jerusalem so that you may be pleased with lawful sacrifice, holocausts offered on your altar. Right? Rebuild the walls of my heart, rebuild the walls of my faith so that I can stand sure and stand in the knowledge that I'm loved and that I'm really not capable of getting to heaven on my own. I'm not capable of even doing the basic Lenten resolutions that I promised to do. But I am capable of recognizing this brokenness, and I am capable of turning to God and say, Lord, rebuild the walls of Jerusalem within me, and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem around my parish, around the people that I love. Jerusalem is a city, right? Strongly compact.